a few minutes. Hello, hello. Great to see folks joining. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. While you are hopping on and getting settled, would love to hear where you're joining from and what's one thing that AI has made possible for you now that wasn't possible before. I'll drop it in the chat here as well. Hello, hello, panelists. Anyone want to share where you're joining from and one thing that AI can do for you now that you couldn't do before?
I can jump in. Hi, everyone. I'm Rohan Pavuluri, joining from New York City. And one thing that I now can do with AI is listen to emails while I am working out and going for walks.
Yeah, that's incredible. Definitely a good way to get through some work before you officially have to start work. Are you in the heat wave? Are you stuck in
Yes, yeah, very much so,
crazy
but
heat?
inside, so all good. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you're staying cool.
It was like 100 degrees yesterday.
Oh man. Yeah, no fun. Oh, nice. Some fellow Canadians. I am dialing in from Calgary in Canada. Previously, I was in Ontario, so very familiar with the hot, humid spring and summer. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
really.
super global, everybody who's here.
Yeah.
South Africa, Philippines, Armenia, Norway. Wow.
Yeah, incredible. Christina, where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco. And I'll give maybe a non-work example, which I've been doing lately, which is just like looking at a fridge of ingredients and taking the ingredients and putting them into ChatGPT and having it compose some recipes so I don't have to think too much about dinner.
That is amazing. I feel like I'm still scratching the surface when it comes to non-work AI uses. I
Yeah.
did just have a trip to Paris for me, and that was pretty incredible. Like, help me with an
Nice.
itinerary. What are the must-sees? Here are the things I like. So yeah, so many options.
Oh, speaking of travel, I was in France a few weeks ago, and with my family, curious how old a building was, and just took a photo of the building, and it gave me the exact decade and
Wow,
the architecture, and that was kind of a very cool ChatGPT use case.
amazing. James, what about you? What have you been using AI for?
I will share an example of something that I don't do anymore because of AI, and I don't help my parents out with IT issues nearly as frequently anymore, which honestly is kind of sad. Like, you got to be grateful for it while you have it. I feel like it's eliminated one way in which I'm a useful son because yeah, they just take photos of issues and can talk to ChatGPT about is this spam kind of thing.
Oh, nice. I mean, definitely, I feel like a spam filter give you some peace of mind that your parents are sending money off into the
Does
abyss.
give me peace of mind. But if it's funny that one of the first jobs eliminated by AI is the child parent IT support.
Oh man, yeah, we got to get working on some of those less glorious use
Yeah.
cases. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we have a great group of folks here, so we can jump right in. So, I want to kick off by saying my name. I'm Laura Newton. My pronouns are she, her. I lead our product and design team at Superhuman, the most productive email app ever made. Superhuman exists to help teams respond faster to what matters most, save hours every single week, and collaborate more effectively. We've been pioneering AI in the inbox, and we've really seen how AI has fundamentally changed how the most productive teams operate. So, with that, I'm very excited to welcome you all to how AI native tools are reshaping our work. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping things just quickly here. We are going to record this session, so you will all get access to the webinar tomorrow. It'll be emailed out to you, and we will have time for audience Q&A. So please feel free to submit that through the Q&A feature throughout the discussion here today, and we'll make sure we try our best to get to it at the end. So to introduce our guests here, we have James Evans, Head of AI at Amplitude. Welcome, James. We have Cristina Cordova, Chief Operating Officer at Linear. Welcome, Cristina. And last but not least, we have Rohan Pavuluri, Chief Business Officer at Speechify. Thank you for being here. I would love to just start having each of you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company. So Rohan, why don't we start with you?
Hi, everyone. I'm the leadership team at Speechify. The story of Speechify is quite interesting because it also even though we're an AI company, predates the AI wave of the last few years. We started about 8 years ago because our founder, Cliff, is dyslexic. And when you're dyslexic, super hard to read. So turning whatever you read into audio is a critical way to just survive in the world, to get through school, get through work, read for fun. So originally we set out to address this issue of, helping people who are dyslexic students read. And Cliff needed a tool for himself to just get through university because so much reading in school. And at the time, the voices were super robotic, so nobody actually wanted to listen to them for long, extended periods of time. And then the application layer it just didn't exist in kind of the same Netflix, Spotify-like way where we love using those products. It was super clunky to get a PDF that might have been like a photo of a textbook or with curved pages and footnotes and endnotes throughout and columns across, and just have that be read to you flawlessly on your phone or on your computer, or for people who need to switch, have that work. So we spent, several years just inch by inch making our voices better so that people actually want to listen to them, but also working on that application layer across iOS, web, Chrome extension, or Android app or Mac app, and then building a brand around, hey, I'm a consumer, I want to listen to my reading. Where do I go? And a lot of people now know Speechify as the prominent tool to go and use. So as we got better and better with our product, we've expanded beyond just people who are dyslexic students into professionals who might have learning differences, and beyond dyslexia, ADHD, and dysgraphia, other learning differences. And there's over 1 billion people in the world who have some kind of learning difference or accessibility need, low vision, senior citizens, people recovering from illnesses. But then there's also people who are just auditory learners, or people who want to consume their content as they're on the go or exercising. And we help those people be more productive in the world. So there's a lot of different use cases, whether it is your emails, your PDFs, websites, students consuming textbooks, and we've been able to help people make sure that reading is never a barrier to learning, which is the fundamental mission of the company. And for anyone here, if you want to access free Speechify for a year, we are giving it out to everyone attending this. So just go to speechify.com/L/superhuman, and you can try it out. So thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you. And thanks for sharing that access code. It's great to see. But awesome to be talking to somebody who's been thinking about AI and applying AI before this latest big wave that we're all, of course, participating in. So yeah, really looking forward to hearing what you've learned. All right, next up, I would love to hear from Cristina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cristina. I'm Linear's COO. If you haven't heard of Linear before, we're a purpose-built tool for planning and building products. So we help teams to streamline issues, projects, and product roadmaps. We're used by companies like OpenAI, Ramp, Scale, Vercel, some of the folks in this room too, which is really exciting. So and for anyone who hasn't, tried our product yet, we're offering a discount for new customers. So you can go to linear.app/coupon/superhuman and get a discount on the product.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Last but not least, James, would love to hear about you.
Hey everyone, I'm James. I work at Amplitude. Amplitude is a digital analytics company that helps other companies essentially understand their customer journey. So website, product. We started off as sort of one of the first product analytics companies. So think like charts, funnels, making it really easy for people to get close to data. And since then, we've expanded to do other things that help you kind of measure and also personalize customer journeys. So think like session replay, guides, surveys, experimentation, a lot of stuff. So if linear is the way you build products, I think of Amplitude as the way you like measure and personalize. I'm relatively new to Amplitude, so I joined about 6 months ago. I was one of the co-founders of a company called Command AI, which Amplitude acquired in fall. And so now our products are part of Amplitude's suite.
Awesome. Yeah, we were actually Command AI users as well as, of course, Amplitude. You've Amplitude in a number of roles before too. So great software and really exciting to see how it's evolved too. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we can all agree AI is transforming drastically how work is getting done. So would love to just start by hearing from your perspective, what's now possible because of AI and how is it reshaping what your business can do? And Christina, why don't we start with you?
Yeah. So I would say I'll have kind of two perspectives on this. On maybe the engineering side, there have been a ton of tools like Cursor, Devin, Codex, and many more that are augmenting these like build and debugging workflows in particular. So they're turning these like time intensive tasks, or what were time intensive tasks, into something that could ship in minutes. But more broadly, I think AI is becoming this like collaborative layer. So it's like integrating across different kinds of roles, and hopefully enabling people to spend their time on like more higher leverage work. And I think that's accelerating a lot of output while preserving quality and intentionality. And I think a lot of that is inherent in the progress that we've seen in the last 6 months to a year. I think even on the non-technical side, AI is really removing friction from workflows that once required a lot of technical intervention. So at Linear, for example, we're even starting to see non-technical folks on our team who wouldn't normally ship code, like marketers or designers, use AI agents to initiate updates or changes to our website, for example, that previously relied on engineering cycles. So, for example, a marketer might be able to draft and stage website copy updates that normally would have to be hard coded through an AI interface and trigger a code review and deployment process that still retains developer oversight, but removes a lot of the bottlenecks and makes it far easier and faster for us to ship things. So, I think it's an inherent part of really what makes us a product that is helping people ship faster.
Yeah, amazing. We've definitely noticed the same. We have non-technical people like myself submitting pull requests for the first time in years. It's been a long time since I've been able to do that, and really nice to be able to get back in there. So very much agree, and been incredible to watch that change. James, how about you? How are you thinking about how AI is changing what your business can do?
Yeah, it's funny. I think when a lot of people, myself included, prior to the latest developments in LLMs, thought about AI, they modeled it as like unlimited intelligence, like someone just knowing all the answers. And I think the model that or the right mental model for AI today is more like unlimited time. And that's kind of how we are seeing it in play at Amplitude, where you can do a lot of amazing things with a digital analytics tool. You can make a ton of charts, a ton of funnels, run a gajillion experiments. But the constraint on using the tool, like, if you look at a list of our power users, I think there's one or two people that use Amplitude for like 80 to 100 hours a week, and some of those are internal. But vast majority don't. And so like that's the fundamental constraint. It's not that the software can't do things, it's that you need like people to use the software to do the things. And now that's like kind of no longer true. You can have the software do things and then shift to more of the approve or manage, human as approver or manager versus human as needing to go from 0 to 100%. So I think there's a lot of really interesting product and work implications that stem from the like time constraint being lifted.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting way of framing it, thinking about unlimited time. I definitely agree it's changing how we interact with users. Like before, so much of UX and design was how do we guide someone to complete a job? And now something else entirely can do that job. And so it's how do we guide a user to take advantage of this new tool?
Totally.
It's really shifting what UX needs to serve. Super cool. Awesome. All right, Rohan, would love to hear from you.
Yeah, so one thing that is pretty context specific to us that we're seeing happen with AI, but across pretty much every profession is people have so much reading and so many documents, and being able to not just search across documents, but create new forms of content from documents. So just one concrete example we've seen is people take documents, and we've seen students use AI to just make quizzes out of documents. And we've seen obviously people talk to documents either by chat or like actually talk to documents themselves. And it's kind of a cool concept of, okay, you have these AI systems, read what you've read and learn what you've learned, and then be able to do tasks for you based on the documents. For example, recently, we needed to take a lot of documents and categorize them, and we were able to upload these PDFs and create subcategories from them. And that's something that usually would have taken hours and hours of time, and just because AI systems have been able to learn all the context, it's like having the assistant sorting everything out. So that's been something very exciting for us, and we've seen across different professions.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. And now I'm curious to kind of get into how you're thinking about taking this forward in the next phases of your product and business. So would love to hear how you think about impacting your vision, impacting your roadmap, what's changing as you think about what's next for your company. And James, we'll go back to you for this.
The first thing to say, is sort of a meta answer, is it's really hard to have like roadmap length. I think in B2B SaaS used to be like, maybe 1 to 2 years with like pretty precise understanding of what's going to be shipped for the next like 2 to 3 quarters. And it's now really hard to do that because on any given morning, you might wake up and like GPT-5 has been shipped and suddenly there are new capabilities. And if you're committed to shipping what you said you were going to ship 3 months ago or 3 quarters ago only, well, then you're not going to pick up GPT-5 until it's too late. And so I think that's the first answer, is we've just had to become much, much more flexible and take much more of a reactive approach to new capability. Then it's not just OpenAI, right? Like now we have this huge ecosystem of foundation model providers, each with their own nuances. And so we've just tried to create a lot of time on the team to just sort of play around and like see what these models are good at. And the second thing I'd say is just going back to this idea of unlimited time. We've really started to try to invert the product experience from trying to get users to engage with our software. Like so much of building software for so long has been like increase your wows, increase feature adoption. And you kind of design this like happy path, which is users getting full value from the software. And then you do all these things to get people to onboard and like go down that path. And now you can create different flavors of AI, whether it's like a full agent or whether it's features that tee up experiments or tee up insights. And a lot of that happy path is kind of done for you. And it's more about just having the human click approve. So you no longer have to do all these kind of unnatural things to get users to spend time in your software. I'd actually be interested to hear the Superhuman perspective on this, because perhaps time in software is actually a counter metric for Superhuman, because like you don't really want to spend a lot of time writing emails. But for the rest of us, this has been something we've spent so much of our lives doing, and now suddenly we don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah, that's really interesting. For us, we definitely think about time, but we think about it just in pure how much time can we save a person? So how can that might mean longer sessions lets them get through more email, and that's great. It
Right.
might mean they can get through their inbox in a third of the time that they used to. So we want to see that number go down. So we look at like time saved per action as opposed to just like session length overall. But yeah, it's really changing. And even where we used to be able to be a little bit more kind of like bigger scale, like less granular with how we're measuring it. Now AI is saving like just like all of the micro interactions that AI do,
Yeah.
all the tiny steps. So even how we think about measuring it is now way more, way more precise, way more fine-tuned than it was before. Just because what we're able to do is changing so quickly.
Totally.
Love the comment you mentioned about like being a little bit more reactive to what's coming out in the models. I have a very vivid memory when MCP was announced. It was like, oh no, like all of a sudden our infrastructure is dated. We have to rethink about how we build things. And we were talking about it like we were, sleeping on technology that was years old. And it was like, this came out on Tuesday. This is
Totally. I know our
crazy how
customers,
much
I
it comes
think,
out.
also push us in this direction where, yeah, MCP, whoever was doing marketing for MCP crushed it, because suddenly all of our customers started asking us about MCP, and we were in the middle of finalizing our own agent product, and we were like, "You're asking us to connect to other agents before we've even launched our own agent."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, there was definitely a really good sense of urgency that came from that launch that was like, okay, time to investigate. Let's stay open to it. Definitely a new way of working. Christina, I would love to hear from you. How are you thinking about how AI is impacting product vision and strategy for your next 12, 24 months?
Yeah. I mean, I think just even from what you shared, it's like you can only plan so far ahead. And there are a lot of things that are being built in the ecosystem, and you have to decide like, are you getting on the train or are you not getting on the train for like what's happening? Like, are we shipping our MCP server or are we not? Are we going to wait and see how this plays out? And I think the space in particular rewards speed, maybe more so than other things that companies have like valued in the past. So, I think from my perspective in terms of our product vision, I think over the past 2 years, AI's role in the product vision have shifted from more like what I would describe as like experimental to like really foundational to like what we're doing at this point in the business. A lot of that's because a lot of the early models didn't really meet our like reliability or quality bar consistently. And I think we're so well known for being like a high quality product that if we ship something that like gets it right 30% of the time, that just kind of feels a little icky to us. So, we still leaned in regardless. We shipped features like similar issues, which really helped our customers identify and group related bug reports and like reduce manual triage. The quality there in terms of like what it would catch was like a little bit more modest. And, at the same time, we started continuing to like work with different and new models. And there was a lot of like long-term payoff there. And that same feature that we shipped quite some time ago is significantly like more accurate and surfacing like higher signal connections now between different issues with more minimal noise. And I think as models have matured, we've decided to actually ship more like AI native features. So we shipped a feature called Pulse, which provides this intelligent summarization of what's happening in your linear workspace and what's relevant to you. And we're starting to test a lot of AI native features like suggestions for tagging and assignments. And that's something that just customers have been begging us for a really long time, since no one really loves triaging bugs and feature requests. They love building products and they don't view that as like a critical part of their job, but it's something that you have to do. So I think for us, it's crucial that a lot of these AI-driven decisions are audible and reversible. And we really see AI as like a power tool, not this like autopilot that you put on. And I think for us, the overarching goal is to make product and engineering teams faster and more focused without necessarily having to like compromise on intentionality or control.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely can empathize with the perception of quality and how you think about quality is so different in an AI world. And our brand, our product, very much the same. Like we really focus on delivering a really high quality product to our users. That's what we're here to do. And that's much harder when you throw something unknown like AI into the mix, way less predictable. So it's been an interesting evolution as we think about how do we measure? How do we decide what good looks like? How do we work with our users to understand where they're at and their willingness to engage with AI? And one of the things that I think is really different is the bar that people hold for AI versus non-AI. Like there is kind of this consumer understanding of what you're getting these days that is drastically different than what we would expect from, straightforward forms and things like that in the past. So definitely it's been something that's very top of mind for us at Superhuman as we continue to build out new AI capabilities into the product. Rohan, would love to hear from you. How are you guys thinking about AI impacting your vision and strategy?
Yeah, so the best advice I've ever had, I've heard for builders when it comes to using these new models and experiences, if you're implementing someone else's model, is built for the edge of what the model can do. So I am not so kind of aware of people making decisions like 2 or 3 years ago at Speechify of saying, hey, we think technology will get to X point. So let's kind of build a feature hoping the technology will get there and having the confidence that it will. But for the first time now, we actually do, for example, with things like, video models. Everyone saw VO3 and everyone, I'm sure, especially kind of in the consumer world, has some ideas on how VO3 might be useful or to creators, but still it's extremely expensive. It's like $30 to $45 per minute. And it's only a few seconds long. It's not like you can get a minute long VO3, but you can kind of expect that it will get better and it will get cheaper. And it's quite interesting for designers and product thinkers to start exploring, hey, what are new customer experiences that can now be created or for advertisers, et cetera. So that is a new just lens of thinking, okay, where will technology probably be in 3 months or 6 months? And what can we start working on now so that when it does come out, we're the first application to have brought that to market. And I don't really think product thinkers and builders like a year ago or 3 or 4 years ago really just constantly had that in the back of their head as they do now. So I would say that's like a big one.
That's really interesting. I completely agree that there's this like optimism we all have to have. It's like totally like jump out of the plane and assume the technology will build your parachute for you as you go. Because otherwise you just risk being too slow or not providing the value that you can in the time that our customers want from us. So I love that. I think that's a really interesting way to look forward. Maybe a new hiring criteria as I think about scaling our team, something that we'll have to look out for. Awesome. All right. Would love to transition here just to think about how you all decide what to build with AI. There's so many different surface areas that AI can better for your customers. How do you decide the mix of quality and risk and priorities? How do you narrow in on what's most important? And Rohan, we'll start with you. Oh, sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think so. One cool thing is we recently won the Apple Design Award that they gave out at WWDC. And I Apple is a company very much known for having amazing customer experiences. I think they sometimes use it as an excuse for not having performed compared to competitors in the AI consumer world yet. But we like to think of ourselves as much more similar to Apple in terms of creating extremely high quality and customer experiences. And it's like a constant challenge because you might get new models that like don't read out things the right way, but sound good, but they're not consistent. And that's just a constant balance for us. Hey, do we focus on quality or do we focus on like this cool thing that might be better but less consistent than what we are now? So where our design team has been pretty aggressive in coming out on is more on the quality side as the premium product. But it is like a just constant tension in the company.
Yeah, for sure. Understandable, definitely. James, what about you? How have you been thinking about it?
There's so many things you could build. I think what's been fun for us to navigate is the loop of like customer discovery, build something, validate it, feels completely different for AI stuff because if you take the first step, customer discovery, like in our space, if you ask our customers, what do you want AI to do for you? You get an answer that's usually something like, oh, we wish we had a crystal ball that could like predict all the trends in our business and help us like optimize decision making. And it's like, okay, that sounds great, but is, hard to build. And I think the challenge is that a lot of people don't have customers don't necessarily have the intuition of what is AI is good at today. And also it shifts the framework from if you built me this feature, I would use it to if you provided me this service and it was good, then I would use it. And it's the and it was good part that you have to go figure out yourself. So we've sort of actually started dialing down the amount of kind of ideas we necessarily get directly from our customers and instead focus a lot more on prototyping. So we have like created, like I was saying before, created a lot of space in our product design process for people to tinker and create prototypes using these amazing new tools like Lovable, Bolt, V0, etc. And just see if the models are good at things like creating experiments, like creating, it turns out, and to the comment around models getting better and building for the edge, we built a feature for automatically generating web experiments in January. We were testing it and it was bad. And then in March, it suddenly became pretty good, like good enough that it would get you like 1 out of every, say, 4 experiments was like pretty shippable. And so that's how we're trying to focus our prioritization, is just what is good today that we think our customers can take advantage of versus necessarily seeking like a laundry list of things that customers are asking for. That said, I think customers are increasingly building good intuition about what AI is good at. And so maybe that will change over time.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've definitely seen that in our audience. We have a lot of like great early adopter folks in our user base. And it was really interesting when we started rolling out features, just what they were trying to use them for. Like we have Ask AI, which is like searching your inbox. It's a great way to like fast track getting information. And people were starting to talk to it like a full-fledged agent or ask different things. And I was like, okay, well, this is what people are trying to do, want to do. They're starting to understand the limitations of what's capable today, but also giving us good pointers of really where the needs are and where the desires are. But then totally agree with you. Then there's the whole other side of, can we deliver that? And can we deliver that with a quality that we're really, really confident to stand behind? Also love that you're prototyping. We're big V0 users at Superhuman. So shout out to V0. Thank you for doing what you do. It has really increased how we make design decisions and just like who can get their hands on prototyping. So yeah, I think that's been a really game-changing tool. Christina, I'd love to hear from you. How are you
Yeah.
thinking about what to build?
I think for us, it's really like we have a North Star for building with AI, and it's really more about reducing toil, not necessarily like agency for who uses our product. So we're looking at it as like identifying workflows that are repetitive or low leverage or prone to a lot of human delay, like bug triaging, label assignment, prioritization. And these are really ideal for automation because they benefit from a lot of consistency and from scale without necessarily requiring a ton of like subjective judgment that you would want like a product manager to like really inject into the process. So, for example, we've envisioned this idea of like an AI program manager, which is really like a set of features that triage issues, propose assignments, and allows like a real human user to actually fine tune decisions or override them. And for us, it's really about building in like tight loops, releasing in like small, controllable like feature slices rather than like a huge thing all at once, gathering feedback from customers on the impact, and then refining the model behavior based on real world usage from our customers and our own usage as well, because we are customers of our own product and we do a lot of dog fooding. But like I think for us, the approach to AI is less about flash and more about fit. So it's not that you're seeing it like front and center, sparkles everywhere you go of like AI doing its thing. We really want it to feel very seamless. So if you think about it, you might know that like AI is behind the scenes when certain things are taking place in linear, but it should feel like this seamless augmentation to the core product, not this like bolt-on that you're using over here with like purely just like a chat interface or something like that. And I think for us, that's really how we maintain the product integrity while still like moving fast.
Yeah, that's incredible. I definitely appreciate experiencing tools that really weave AI through the product, like when it can be part of the means of doing the job that you're set out to do versus this own intentional thing that you're interacting with. I think there's value in both models for sure, but love that you're thinking about how to really integrate it. Maybe just to share a little framework that we consider at Superhuman, we think about building AI products in kind of 3 different buckets. Our first one is on demand, things that users are triggering. It's something that they have specifically requested. So for us, that's things like writing an email or editing an email. Then we have our always on bucket, which is stuff that just can help you, kind of seamlessly, like you're mentioning, Christina, just behind the scenes. This is our like auto summarize. It's also drafting. We're now doing auto drafting. It's really valuable because you don't have to remember to use it. It can just be worked into your experience. But it also then it needs to have much higher quality because we're taking over part of the experience, or we're getting involved in your workflow. And then our last bucket that we think about is agent and agentic AI. And that's obviously way more complicated, way harder, way more experimental, but can be really, really powerful. So those are maybe more of your like super users kind of can get value from that, or 10% of your workflows will really benefit from an agentic experience. But it has to be great and it has to be really, really intelligent. So we try and think about building across these three buckets, but we have kind of different bars and ways of working depending on which bucket we're in. And that's been helpful just like to have that language within our team. All right, we are going to jump to our audience questions here in a second, but before we do that, would love to do one rapid fire question for each of our panelists. I'd be curious to hear what is the most powerful way your customers are saving time now that AI is in your product. And Rohan, maybe we'll have you start.
Yeah, I mean, Speechify's one of the core value propositions is listening is a faster way to consume information than reading, and we can read faster with our ears. So we have people who have really practiced listening faster and faster. First, listening at 200 or like 2x speed might be, hard to understand everything, but generally people who start using Speechify increase the speed over time. And we actually have a feature that trains people to listen faster and slowly increases the speed. So people not just using Speechify to listen, but actually practicing speed listening in order to read has been a huge time saver for folks.
Amazing. That's great to hear. James, what about you and your customers?
So I was talking with a customer the other day, very large media organization, like billions of page views a month. And we were asking them about their experimentation program. And they run experiments, but they don't run any language group specific experiments. So like Spanish language versus English versus French. And we were like, why don't you do that? Like there must be, regional nuances. And they were like, oh, no one has time to create those experiments. And we were like kind of flabbergasted because, at that scale, like these experiments are super meaningful to the business. And so I think for us, it's actually less about saving time. Like if you think about the power law of impactful activities you can do with a digital analytics tool, like investigate a really important trend, drive conversion to a specific outcome. People are already doing the ones that they know are extremely high impact, but that long tail, it goes back to the time in app problem. People typically don't have time to do those things. And so I think for us, the main value prop is going from 0 to 99% on that long tail. So running language specific experiments and teeing that up for someone to accept, or creating surveys around trends that are sort of murky in the data just to grab more information so that hopefully a human can analyze them one day. Those are things like they're all doable with Amplitude today. It's just someone would have to sit there in front of the computer and do it. And now that's no longer the case. They just get a Slack notification that says, hey, notice this trend. Here's an experiment I want to run. Do you have feedback? And even if it's not totally autonomous per your framework of 100% shipping the experiment or shipping the survey or whatever without any human, it's pretty damn close with just clicking approve or giving feedback.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Amazing. All right, Cristina, over to you.
Yeah, for us, it's really about velocity and helping teams move faster. So I think a lot of our customers for quite some time said like linear makes them feel like they're moving faster. They don't know for sure that they're moving faster, but I think one of the things that's been really exciting, just even in like linear users today, is that they're able to assess how they're using like previous tools that they were using compared to linear, and we're able to kind of track that. So like just purely an example of like when you opened an issue with a previous tool to like when you closed it, how much time was there in between that, and how much time is there in between those exact same actions on average on linear, being really important metrics for us and things that we care about. But as an example, Scale AI is one of our customers, and they were able to really get like very high velocity in terms of their core workflows for like bug resolution times. And they were able to improve time to solve bugs by 52%. So for them, they view that as like a significant increase in like product quality, and the time from when like a customer reports a bug to when it's actually like solved is a pretty meaningful like metric for a lot of companies when they think about like being very responsive to customers and then also increasing product quality over time. So that's where we tend to kind of see a lot of things these days with the AI improvements we've been making.
Amazing. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for participating all in this webinar and in our panel so far. We now have a bunch of great questions from the audience. So thank you everybody who's been sending them in. The first one here is coming from Kyle. We talked a little bit about this, but he wants to know more. How is the bar different for AI versus non-AI products? How is it different in the point of view of customers, and how are we measuring quality? Anyone want to start?
I love this question. We actually ran a little experiment. So we have a embedded chat bot product. So, think bottom right, answer questions. Um, we launched in September 23. And shortly after that, we did an experiment with some of our customers where we branded the chatbot as AI powered, like with the sparkles that Cristina was talking about. Everyone was doing it at the time. And then not. So just like a sleek chatbot. And we found two really interesting things. One was there was significantly better engagement with the AI powered functionality, engagement being measured as like top of funnel. So people clicked on it more. You could say this maybe was a point in time thing. I'd be really interested to repeat that experiment actually. But the second really interesting thing was that when we told users it was AI powered, um, and then you look at how they interacted with the chat, it was completely different. You would see users like prompting, like using prompting tactics, like asking a question and being like, explain your reasoning, or like break it down into these things that people know how to get ChatGPT to work better. They were using in our AI powered tool. So it's not really an answer to expectations. It's more an answer to ChatGPT basically onboarded like a billion people to prompt engineering, and which is crazy to think about. And so for an AI feature branded as AI powered with that sort of like standard chat experience, you can kind of take advantage of that, that people kind of know like how to manipulate language interfaces that are powered by AI. So it's something we think about a lot where when we brand, whether to brand something as AI powered is that, yeah, there's like the marketing, luster, but you're also telling people like, hey, this set of tactics, whether it's modifying the system prompt or doing these explain your reasoning steps, like they can be used in this way.
Yeah, completely agree. Like there's different expectations where customers are coming in, and just how you position it to the audience really changes what they're expecting to get out of it, which sometimes gives you a little bit more flexibility. It gives you a chance to like be more
Totally.
experimental and take on some risk that you wouldn't do otherwise. Cristina, did you have something you
Yeah.
wanted to add?
Yeah, I think the difference that we have taken has just been in like the how we build part. For us, it's really about like starting small and shipping fast, and like measuring the impact from conversations with customers. Also, because a lot of people don't know, like, is it the model? Is it the way that you're implementing the model? Is there, something else going on? So a lot of that has to be gleaned, I think, through conversations, rather than purely just looking at data. And at Linear, we've never like run a single A/B test, so we're a little unique in terms of like how much we talk to customers. I know, James. Um, so maybe we'll get there soon. But I think a lot of it is really about trying to understand like what are people trying to do, and then understanding when it doesn't quite work exactly how they're expecting, like understanding why. And I think for us, like quality is really defined by like user control and confidence. So I think shipping an AI quickly doesn't mean like that you have to give up on quality. It means just kind of like redefining it. And we will ship stuff that's like untested, first, things out to like a small beta group. And, that beta group is like really willing to like try things that are like very early. And so, are we going to ship it to the entire user base like right away? Like probably not, until we get some like validation that we are doing the right thing. So, from that perspective, I think you can ship quickly, and like test in small groups and try to understand like, are you shipping the right thing? Because I do think it is really easy to ship stuff quickly that ends up like not being the right experience for your customers.
Yeah, I love that. And definitely, we have a similar group of users that we trust to give us feedback that are really willing to adopt AI early. And what's nice is that, AI it's not industry specific right now. It's everybody that's thinking about it and trying to work with it. So it means that odds are your customers are also thinking about how to work with AI and how to incorporate AI. So it's a really interesting dynamic because we're kind of all in this together in certain ways, which means that you can really learn from each other and get so much value out of those early pieces of feedback. So thank you to all of the Superhuman users on this call that have participated in those things. We love you. We really appreciate the feedback that you send our way. Okay, I want to transition to a question here from Brian. What's the biggest mistake you've seen teams making when adopting AI native workflows? Love this question. Always good to learn learn from mistakes. Rohan, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I know on the engineering side, you'll like often have like non-technical folks saying, "Oh, we should be shipping 10 times faster, 10 times more features, because of Cursor or Codex, as Cristina mentioned, just reducing the barrier towards software engineering." But a lot of these like the enthusiasm, it's well guided, but with complex code bases, we've seen there be like just challenges in being able to actually get the still. I mean, I'm sure at some point down the line this will change, but the promise of larger companies or like growth companies shipping 10 times more features or cutting, like being able to cut their engineering headcount in half because of AI. We just haven't seen that realized. And there's kind of this mismatch between, this narrative around AI engineering, and coding assistance, and especially when it comes to people who aren't in the weeds on engineering and engineering teams directly, and where the efficiencies actually are realized. And obviously people are way more efficient with Cursor now, but I think when these two don't actually, talk to each other so closely, there can be some frustration. So I've seen the lack of communication from engineering teams in helping communicate how AI is actually advancing their ability to ship, and then maybe non-technical, non-engineering execs. I think that's kind of like an important asymmetry to remove.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree with that of like understanding where the technology's at, where it can add value versus just, kind of the most vanilla interpretation of how AI is changing the industry and how it's progressing. Yeah, definitely agree. I think maybe just to expand on that as far as my answer to the workflow question here, I think it's when people forget to include that that special sauce, that magic moment, like just letting AI do start to finish, but realizing that like humans can add, really incredible value, at whether it's like design taste, it's engineering, like way of thinking about a problem or something that can be like 10 times better. So keeping that human in the loop mindset and really thinking about like, well, what is it that we as individuals can uniquely add and making sure we're not giving that up too.
Yeah, I mean, Christina's colleague, the CEO of Linear, an amazing blog post that we just like everyone at our company read about design taste and how
Mm,
like that's kind of an ingredient that AI just has not really hit. And it just means like people care
yeah.
just like so much more deeply about every single detail. And it's kind of easy to just let, AI design everything, code everything. But when you are a human caring about every small detail, it might be difficult to articulate why, as a customer, you enjoy the experience. But when you're in Linear, you can kind of tell they care about every last thing. And I think that's an awesome thing that Linear has done.
Yeah, amazing. And Christina, thanks for passing on that blog post. Okay, we are over time here, but I want to close out with just one more question and we'll squeeze it in. But thank you for all. If anyone has to drop, totally understandable. Thank you for joining us. So, want to hear how your go-to-market teams optimize messaging around AI features and tools so they're not just another one of the AI crowd. Thank you for submitting that question. I think it's really interesting because definitely there's like tons of hype and excitement around AI, but now I think as a consumer, you're just getting AI shouted at you, so it can be harder to differentiate. Yeah, Christina, do you maybe want to start?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we haven't shipped anything called like linear AI. I think for that reason, because it feels like such the obvious thing to do. Like, of course you're going to do that, right? At this point, and so it's more about weaving different AI features into the product and like speaking to like what value they provide to the customer. And I think that's been kind of more important to us. And I think also with a lot of the things that are coming out specific to like AI developer workflows, there's so much that's like confusing. Like people don't know like what's the difference between an API and MCP and when should I use one versus the other. And we are not the creators of this technology, but once you ship your remote, MCP server, like you become the person that they're going to go to when they have questions about how to best utilize this. So sometimes you have to take like two steps back and say, actually, here, I'm going to explain the whole landscape to you of like, what is this? What is it for? How is it supposed to be used? And really think about yourself as like an educator to a lot of people who are building with AI for the first time. And then you can go into like your feature and what you're shipping and what's specific to maybe your product. So that's kind of how we've been thinking about it.
Yeah, that's incredible. The step back is a really good reminder. Like just think about the landscape and doing some like base level education. I really, really love the comment around like communicating the end value. That's definitely how we've been thinking about it, is like not the fact that AI is now doing a thing, but what is it helping you do? What are you getting out of it? What's the value in exchange? And focusing the message on that, not so much the means, which is the AI piece, of course. Awesome. James or Rohan, I want to give you a chance to either of you want to weigh in on that one?
I'll say I get a lot on the outbound email side of the question. I'll say I get a lot more uh clearly AI sort of spam outbound, but I'm, thankfully a Superhuman user, and so most of it doesn't make it through. And I'm looking forward to the day that Superhuman can just tell me which products in my inbox I should actually pay attention to. It's like that meme where, AI writes the message, sends it to you, and then your own AI decodes the message and then tells you what to care about. That's Superhuman for me.
Yeah, incredible. Definitely. We'll have a lot of machines talking to each other in no time. All right, Rohan, go for it.
I guess on our side, when it comes to the messaging, we really just focus on specific use cases that actually predated a lot of the recent wave. We've always been focused on saving people time and allowing people to have their books or their PDFs read aloud to them, and the accessibility use case, overcoming learning differences, and being able to survive as someone who might have challenges with reading. So the actual pain point, AI or not, it's kind of, we haven't really found that that's as important as can we solve people's specific problems. So we really just talk about solving their specific problems.
Yeah, I love that. The like out, so very similar to what Christina was saying on focusing on the value,
Yeah,
but the
exactly.
reminder of also focusing on the user, like where are they starting from? What is the pain that they're living with that they're trying to overcome? And then how does that value get delivered now in this like really incredible way brought to you by AI? So love that. Great reminder. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Christina, James, and Rohan. It's been really great spending this hour with you. Thank you everyone who joined and submitted questions. You will all receive an email tomorrow with the recording of the webinar, and look out for the special offers from Superhuman as well as these amazing products for you. They'll be hitting your inbox too. And we would love to know how you thought this conversation went, if you got value out of it. So you will see a short survey that will pop up as you're leaving the webinar. We would really appreciate it if you took a second to fill it out so we can continue to make these better and better. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Hope you
you
have
all.
a great rest of your
Take
day
care.
all. Bye.
Hi, everyone.